The spaceport on Luna Station was always busy. Ships landed and took off every hour. Pilots, engineers, and officers walked in all directions. There was movement everywhere. But today, something different was happening. A group of new cadets was arriving to board the Silver Ray, one of Earth's top training ships. These cadets had been chosen from many applicants across Earth and its colonies. They were the best of the best, ready to begin their journey to become future fleet officers. Among this group was someone who did not look like she belonged. Her name was Mira. She was only 16 years old. The others were older, taller, and louder. Most were in their 20s. Some had military families. Others had already served in basic units. They laughed, compared test scores, and talked about who would become captain one day. Mira stood at the edge of the group, holding a small bag. She did not speak. She did not smile. Her dark eyes watched everything, and her short black hair moved slightly in the breeze from the landing bay. She looked like a child among warriors. One of the cadets, a tall boy named Bren, looked at her and raised his eyebrow. Is she someone's little sister? He asked out another cadet. Lynn shrugged. No idea. Maybe she got lost. But Mira showed them her ID badge when asked. It had the silver seal of the Fleet Academy and her name printed in neat letters. Her photo matched. Her scores were perfect. Her age was correct. She's one of us, said Instructor Cal, who was reading names from a tablet. His voice was calm and firm. She passed the entrance exams with the highest results this year. That made the other cadets pause. For a moment, they looked at her differently. But soon they were joking again. If she's that smart, maybe she'll do our homework. Bren laughed. Mira didn't answer. She simply walked forward when called and boarded the Silver Ray. The inside of the ship was clean and quiet. Bright lights ran along the ceiling, and smooth metal walls reflected soft blue tones. The cadets were shown to their quarters. Each had a small room, just enough for a bed, a desk, and a screen. Mira's room was near the engine sector. She didn't complain. She unpacked her few items quickly. A data tablet, a photo of her mother, and a folded blue scarf. Then she sat on her bed and listened. From her walls, she could hear the hum of the ship. She could hear voices in the hallway. Cadets laughing, someone arguing about bunk space, someone else trying to connect to the ship's network. But Mira didn't move. Her hands rested on her knees. Her eyes were closed. She was learning. The next morning, training began. The cadets were taken to the simulation deck. It was a large room with glowing floor panels and curved screens. They were told to complete an obstacle course that tested balance, memory, and reflex. Most of the cadets jumped in with energy. Some rushed and made mistakes. Others moved too slow. Mira waited at the back, watching each person go through. Then, when it was her turn, she stepped forward. She didn't move fast. She moved with care. Every step was measured. Every turn was smooth. When lasers flashed across the floor, she ducked. At the right moment, when a puzzle lock appeared on the screen, she solved it in seconds. At the end of the course, the timer beeped out first place. Some cadets clapped politely. Others looked annoyed. Lucky start, someone said. But the pattern continued. In the weeks that followed, Mira kept performing at the top of every test. She scored highest in tactical thinking. She completed drone repairs faster than anyone else. She flew simulation shuttles through asteroid fields with no damage. Her answers in class were always short, but always correct. The instructors started to pay attention. Instructor Cal watched her during a strategy module. The cadets were asked to design a fleet pattern to protect the colony from raiders. Most chose strong, wide formations. Mira chose something different. She used fewer ships, placed them in the shadows of planets, and built decoys to confuse the enemy. When the simulation ran, her plan won in 2 minutes. How did you think of that? Cal asked her afterward. They always go for the biggest target, she said. I made the biggest one fake. It was the first time he heard her speak more than one sentence. Despite her success, Mira never tried to stand out. She never corrected others. She never showed off. She sat at the back during meals. She listened during meetings. She kept her room clean and simple. But she watched everything. She noticed when the lights in the hallway flickered. She saw when an engine pulse changed its rhythm. She once told a crew member that a sensor relay was out of balance. When the engineer checked, she was right. Still, many cadets didn't know what to think of her. "She's weird," said Bren one day. "Too quiet. It's like she's hiding something." Lynn nodded. "Or maybe she's not really one of us." But Instructor Cal thought differently. He had served on many ships. He had trained many cadets. And he had never seen someone like Mira. She didn't act like she was trying to win. She acted like she was preparing for something else. He checked her records again. Perfect exam scores, top physical marks, a long list of simulations completed before entering the academy, and a note from her home colony's science council. Highly observant, quick learner, prefers silence. Do not underestimate. Cal stood by the observation deck and looked out at the stars. The silver ray would soon move deeper into unknown space. For the next phase of training, it would not be easy. But he had a strange feeling that Mira was ready, even if no one else believed it yet. The silver ray moved quietly through the edge of Earth's star zone. The ship was large but graceful, sliding through space like a fish in deep water. Training continued every day for the cadets on board. Each morning began with physical drills, followed by ship operations, tactics, and simulations. The simulation room was the favorite place for most cadets. It looked like an empty metal hall, but once activated, it changed into different environments. Forests, battlefields, alien structures, space stations. The cadets used these to test their thinking, speed, and teamwork. For Mira, the simulation room felt like a second home. She never rushed into a task. She always studied the setting, the rules, and the tools available. Then she made her move. It wasn't always fast, but it was always smart. One day, the cadets were placed in teams of 3 for a space rescue simulation. They had to enter a damaged ship, find survivors, and bring them back before oxygen ran out. Most teams chose strong cadets to lead. They picked fast ones to run between rooms. Mira's team didn't speak much to her. They made their plan and told her to stay near the door and monitor the scanner. But things didn't go as expected. The other 2 cadets rushed into the ship without checking the map fully. They got lost between decks and wasted time. They missed signals from the simulated survivors. Mira, still near the entrance, noticed a pattern on the scanner. She marked the real location of the survivors, turned on a guide light, and used the ship's voice system to direct her teammates back. They followed her instructions without knowing who was giving them. They returned with 2 minutes to spare. Later, when results were posted, their team came first. The others were surprised. "Who figured it out?" someone asked. Her teammates looked around. "It wasn't me," said one. Mira didn't say anything. She was already walking to the next class. Another time, during a test on alien languages, the cadets had to decode messages from a species called the Varn. Their language was not like human speech. It used light and shape instead of sound. Most cadets gave up after trying for an hour. The symbols made no sense. Mira looked at them quietly. Her head tilted slightly. Then she stood up and went to the main screen. "They speak in layers," she said. The instructor blinked. "What do you mean?" "Each shape has a value. Each color adds emotion. Together, they form the meaning." She tapped the screen and began rearranging the pieces. A moment later, a sentence appeared. "We do not trade with those who burn their sky." The instructor stared in silence. Then he smiled. "Well done." The room remained quiet after that. More cadets began to notice Mira's calm skill. But they still didn't understand her. She didn't join card games. She didn't tell stories about her life. She didn't even share her lunch table. "Maybe she thinks she's better than us," Brent said during dinner one evening. Lynn shook her head. "No, I think she just doesn't need anyone." They watched as Mira sat alone, her eyes scanning a tablet. She was studying the ship's engineering map. Not for a class, just for herself. The instructors saw things differently. One evening, during the review meeting, Instructor Cal spoke. "First, We have high scores across the board this cycle, he said, but Mira's progress is unusual. Another instructor, a tall woman named Juno, nodded. She's not just smart, she's beyond fast. She sees outcomes before the computer finishes calculating. She doesn't show emotion either. Cal said. Juno smiled. She's focused. Not cold. Cal leaned back. She's either the best cadet we've had, or she's hiding something big. Juno raised an eyebrow. Maybe both. Meanwhile, Mira continued to work. She had no need to prove herself. She knew how people saw her. Quiet, strange, too young. But she didn't care. She had her reasons for joining the fleet. Her planet had seen signs of danger long before the Central Command had noticed. She had studied those signs. She had seen the strange patterns in deep space data. She had come to prepare. One night, after lights out, Mira stayed in the data lab. She had special permission from Instructor Cal, who was curious about what she was doing. She stood alone in front of a large screen. On it, waves of data flowed like a river. Sensor records from Earth's outer watch posts, tiny signals, shifts in gravity, echoes of something moving far beyond the map sectors. Mira adjusted the filters, removed background noise. Her eyes narrowed as lines appeared. A repeated shape, a curve that didn't belong to any natural body. She checked again. Then she ran a prediction model. If the shape repeated again, it meant movement. If movement, then something was coming. She saved the data and sent a copy to a hidden folder in her account. The next day, she returned to normal training like nothing happened. Later that week, the instructors introduced a new simulation. It was called Dark Flag, a scenario where an unknown enemy appeared near a colony and the fleet had to respond. No information was given. The cadets had to guess the threat, plan defense, and protect the civilians. Teams rushed to build shields, place cannons, and call backup. Mira again stayed quiet. She read the data the simulation offered. A strange energy wave, a signal with no source, a pause in sensor response. She didn't build weapons. She placed satellites. She used light pulses to reflect signals. She sent drones to map gravity points, while others fired at shadows. Mira created a pattern that revealed the real enemy ship, hidden behind a moon. She marked its path and sent a warning before it could strike. The simulation ended with a surprise message on every screen. Only one cadet located the true threat. Cadet Mira. This time, no one laughed. Some cadets looked uneasy. Others were impressed. A few stayed silent. Instructor Cal watched the room. Then he looked at Mira. She stood still, eyes calm, hands behind her back. She was not just passing the test. She was watching the future. The silver ray glided through deep space, moving far beyond the regular patrol zones. Stars in this region were distant and dim. No stations, no signals, just long silence. It was the kind of place where most ships did not go unless they had a reason. The cadets were told it was just for advanced training, but the instructors had received a special order 2 days ago. Something had changed in space. Instructor Cal stood in the command deck, looking at the main screen. A small message blinked in the corner. A signal had arrived from Earth Command. It was marked urgent with restricted access. The signal had been picked up by a long-range watch post near the edge of map territory. Its content was strange. No voice, no clear language, just a wave of sound and light. It did not match any known species. He played the signal again. The lights on the screen flashed slowly. Then the wave curved and broke, as if something strong had torn it apart. A sound followed, deep and low, almost like breathing, but heavier, like a machine copying breath, or something alive that had forgotten how to breathe gently. Instructor Cal frowned. It made no sense. Behind him, Cadet Mira stood near the wall, watching in silence. She had entered the command deck without speaking. No one stopped her anymore. The instructors had started allowing her access to data and strategy meetings, not because she asked, but because she already knew things before they were explained. She stood quietly, hands behind her back, eyes fixed on the screen. After a long pause, she finally spoke. This is not a message. Instructor Cal turned. What do you mean? She stepped forward, tapping the screen. The wave of sound broke into segments. These are movements, patterns in time, like footsteps. Something passed near the watch post, and it was heavy enough to bend space for a second. That's what the signal is, a shadow. The others stared at her. How do you know that? Cal asked. I've been watching similar waves in the deep. Data logs for weeks, she said. This one is stronger, closer, and it's coming this way. Cal looked back at the screen. Could be a comet or a rogue ship. Mira shook her head. A comet doesn't echo like that, and a rogue ship would avoid watch posts. This one passed close on purpose. It wanted to be seen, or it wanted to test who was watching. A silent moment filled the command deck. Then, Cal sent a request to Earth Command, asking for all related signals from nearby systems. He marked it high priority and attached Mira's report. He didn't know if anyone at Earth would believe it, but he had started trusting Mira's eyes more than the ship's sensors. That night, the Silver Ray changed course. They moved toward the Dusk Void, a region of space known for strange readings. Old maps called it unstable. Not dangerous, just odd. Light moved slower there. Stars dimmed for no reason. Ships avoided it because sensors became unreliable. But now, Earth Command wanted the Silver Ray to scan it closely. They didn't say why, just that it needed to be done. The cadets were told it was just a routine scan. They didn't question it. They were excited to explore a new area. To them, it was another challenge. But Mira knew better. She spent the night in the data lab comparing wave signals. There were 5 different signals recorded across the last 3 months. Each one came from a different sector. Each one showed the same curve. A rise, a pause, then a break. It was not random. It was the path of something moving with purpose. She overlaid the paths on a star map. They formed a shape, a circle. She sat back in her chair. They're surrounding us, she whispered. The next morning, the ship reached the edge of the Dusk Void. The stars outside the windows looked dim, like they had lost their shine. Light bent in strange ways. The ship's sensors blinked and reset every few minutes. It felt like the ship was floating through a half-dream. Instructor Juno, who led the science unit, ran a full scan. She frowned as the results came back. There's nothing here. No debris. No movement. But still, something feels wrong. Instructor Cal agreed. He opened the cadet channel and called Mira to the command deck. She arrived quickly. We need your thoughts, Cal said, without explaining more. Mira stepped to the sensor table. Her hands moved quickly over the controls. She adjusted the frequency, removed background noise, and changed the angle of the scan. A new image appeared. It was faint, almost hidden, but clear enough for trained eyes. A shape, large and still, floating in the far edge of the void. What is that? Juno asked. Mira zoomed in. The shape was smooth, like a dark rock. But no rock had such perfect curves. It had no lights, no windows, no heat, just stillness. It's not a ship, Mira said softly. It's a probe, a watcher. It listens, but does not speak. Juno stared at her. How do you know that? Mira looked at the screen. Because it's facing us. Everyone went quiet. Then, a low signal echoed through the ship, a deep pulse, the same sound from the earlier warning. But this time, it was louder, closer, real. It didn't carry words, it carried weight. Instructor Cal sent a lock signal to Earth. We've made contact, he wrote, but not in the way we hoped. Outside the ship, the stars continued to fade. The dusk void swallowed light slowly, like a quiet sea pulling back its waves. Mira stood still. She had seen this moment coming, but it had arrived sooner than she thought, and now the real test was near. The Silver Ray floated at the edge of the dusk void. Everything outside the ship looked strange. The stars were not shining as they usually did. Some lights blinked and vanished. Others stayed still, like they were being watched by something. The crew felt uneasy, but no one said it out loud. In space, fear often started as silence. Instructor Cal stood at the main screen, watching the strange shape Mira had discovered. It looked like a rock but was too smooth. No signals came from it, but it had moved slightly since last night, not by accident. On purpose. Mira sat in the data chair, watching patterns on the screen. Her face was calm, but her eyes moved quickly. She was checking energy levels, echo signals, and ship heat trails. Her fingers tapped the console, fast and quiet. It's scanning us, she said at last. Juno, who had been monitoring the ship's shields, turned around. How can you tell? Mira pointed at a soft wave in the data. That curve. It reacts every time we change engine power. It listens to our actions, not our words. Cal walked over. So it's learning? Mira nodded. Yes, but it's not just this one. There are more. I found 3 other shapes like this in the outer ring of the void. You mean they've surrounded us? Juno asked. Mira looked up. Not surrounded. Testing us. Watching how we respond. The instructors went quiet. They had never seen anything like this before. No message. No weapons. Just quiet pressure. Like a trap being slowly built. Later that day, the instructors called a ship meeting. Cadets were brought to the main hall. The lights were dim. The walls shook softly, like space was pressing against the ship's body. Instructor Cal stepped forward. We are currently inside the edge of the dusk void. We have picked up signs of unknown objects. They are not active yet, but we believe they are not natural. We are taking full precautions. Most cadets listened quietly. Some exchanged nervous looks. Bren whispered to Lynn, "Why are we even out here? This feels wrong." Lynn shrugged. "I think we're being tested." Bren replied, "By who?" Lynn pointed her chin toward the front of the hall. Mira knew this would happen. Look at her face. She's not surprised. Mira stood at the edge of the room, silent and still. Her eyes watching the room like she already knew what would come next after the meeting. Mira returned to the command deck alone. She had permission now to access most parts of the ship. She opened a private simulation on the main screen and began working. She called it Void Reflection. It was not a battle simulation. It was a puzzle, a slow game of guessing where the watchers were. She used light echoes, sound curves, and fake signals to see what got a response. Over ours, she built a map of the watchers' positions. They were not ships. They were something else. Like living satellites, eyes without mouths, tools of a larger force. Mira studied how they moved. Slowly, only when unobserved, she started placing small probe beacons from the ship's cargo bay at exact angles. Each one was placed behind a field of asteroids or drifting metal. She did not use energy weapons. She used light, gravity, and shadows. Instructor Juno watched her from the side. "You're not preparing for a fight," she said. Mira shook her head. "They expect a fight. I'm preparing for confusion." Juno smiled slowly. "You want them to lose track of us." "Yes," Mira said. "We can't win by power. They have more of it, but they think in lines. We can move in circles." By the next day, the ship was surrounded by 10 small probe beacons. Each one released fake heat signals or bounced sound waves in strange directions. The watchers started reacting. Some turned. One moved closer. Another backed away. The void itself seemed to shimmer. Inside the ship, the crew noticed a change. The gravity pulled unevenly. The walls made soft clicking sounds. The navigation screen blinked twice and then froze. Instructor Cal called Mira again. "We're losing sensor clarity," he said. "Is it because of the probes?" "No," Mira replied. "It's because they're reacting faster than expected." She showed him her map. The watchers had begun to shift positions, not in anger, in curiosity. They were trying to understand what the silver ray was doing. "They think we're breaking their trap," Mira said. "So now they're trying to build a new one." Cal frowned. "We need to get out of here." Mira didn't answer at first. Then she pointed to a corner of the void. "There's a way out, but it will only stay open for a short time. The light patterns show a weakness in their net. If we move too soon, they'll close it. If we wait too long, we'll be trapped." Cal nodded. "What do you suggest?" "Wait until they believe we're confused," Mira said. "Let them think they have us. Then use the decoys. When they move in, we slip out the side. Cal looked at her for a long time. You think like them? No, Mira replied. I think differently. That's why they can't predict us. The next 24 hours passed slowly. Mira kept adjusting the decoy signals. She created a rhythm, a pattern, then broke it. The watchers moved in closer. One touched the ship's outer field for a moment, then pulled back. Nothing exploded, no weapons fired, but the tension grew. Then, at the right moment, Mira gave the signal. Now, the silver ray turned sharply. Engines low, shields quiet. It moved through the space between two watchers. The probes exploded with light, sending mirror beams across the void. The watchers paused. Just for 3 seconds. That was all Mira needed. The ship passed through the exit path and entered open space. Behind them, the dusk void began to close again. The watchers faded into the dark, returning to their still positions. The ship was safe for now. Instructor Cal placed a hand on Mira's shoulder. You just led a full escape from something we still don't understand. Mira nodded slowly. They weren't trying to attack. They were trying to see who we are. But next time, they might not just watch. Cal looked out the window at the silent stars. Who are they, Mira? She looked up at him. I don't know, but I think they know us. Now, and they're curious. The silver ray sailed farther into the darkness beyond the dusk void. The stars were faint, but the crew remained alert. Something was watching, something intelligent and careful. The watchers had not attacked yet, but their presence was heavy in the air. Everyone felt it. Inside the ship, Mira worked quietly in the command deck. Her fingers moved over the control panels as she set up new devices. These were not weapons. They were small drones with bright lights and reflective surfaces. She called them light mirrors. These drones will not fight, Mira explained to Instructor Cal. They will confuse. Cal raised his eyebrow. Confuse how? Mira smiled slightly. They will bounce light signals everywhere, create fake images, hide our real position. The watchers rely on sensing energy and movement. If we can trick their sensors, they will lose track. Cal nodded slowly. It's a gamble, but it's the best chance we have, Mira said. The crew helped prepare the drones. They loaded them into the ship's launch bays, ready to release at a moment's notice. The tension on board grew with every passing hour. The cadets whispered rumors about what lay ahead. Some feared the watchers were a new enemy. Others hoped for a peaceful meeting. Mira ignored the rumors. She focused on the data. Suddenly, the ship's sensors picked up movement ahead. Shadows slid between stars. The watchers had returned. This time, there were more of them. Large shapes, smooth and dark, floating silently. The crew gathered in the command room. Instructor Cal stood near the main screen. Watching the images, prepare the light mirrors, Mira ordered. Her voice was steady. The drones launched quietly from the ship. They spread out in a wide circle. Each one flashed bright beams of light in different directions. The watchers turned, sensing the sudden flood of signals. At first, the watchers slowed. Then they started moving differently. One moved closer to the ship, but then suddenly changed course. Another tried to follow a beam of light, only to find nothing there. The silver ray used this chance. Mira ordered the ship to move slowly behind a cluster of asteroids. The watchers searched the wrong places, their sensors fooled by the Mira drones. Good. Cal said, they are losing their advantage. Mira nodded but did not relax. They are patient, she said. They watch and wait. They do not rush. That means they think they have time. The light mirrors kept flashing, creating shifting patterns of light and shadow round the ship. The watchers grew more confused. They changed formations, trying to find the true position of the silver ray. But Mira was ready. She activated a new part of her plan. The ship's gravity generators adjusted the fields around them, creating small distortions in space. These made the light beams bend in unusual ways. The watcher's sensors sent mixed signals from the bridge. The captain watched quietly. This is unlike any enemy I have seen, he said. Mira smiled. They are hunters, she said. but they do not expect prey to hunt back with light and shadows. The Watchers started to change tactics. They sent out smaller ships, like scouts, to check the areas around the silver ray. These scouts moved fast and quiet. They scanned everything. One scout came very close. The crew held their breath. The scout's sensors locked onto the ship's surface. It hovered for a moment, then backed away. No attack came. Mira knew why. They are learning, she said softly. They study our reactions. The simulation room had prepared her for moments like this. She had seen alien tactics and training. She knew patience was their strength. But hers was curiosity. The Watchers wanted to understand, to see if humans were clever or just loud and dangerous. Mira moved quickly. She launched a small drone near the scout. It emitted a soft pulse of magnetic energy that temporarily disrupted the scout's sensors. The scout backed off, confused. The Watchers hesitated. It was the first sign of doubt. The silver ray moved deeper into a nearby asteroid field. The Watchers followed, but with more caution. Their smooth shapes floated between rocks. They waited for mistakes. Inside the ship, Mira studied their movements. She noticed patterns in their changes. Each time the silver ray shifted, the Watchers took longer to respond. They are slowing down, she told Cal. They are learning, but they are not fast. Cal smiled. That is our advantage. Mira added one more move to her plan. She ordered the light mirrors to flash in a sequence that mimicked a common distress signal used by many ships. The Watchers froze. They could not ignore the signal. It was a call for help. The Watchers sent scouts to check the source of the signal. They moved cautiously, unsure if it was a trap. Mira's drone scattered the false signals in multiple directions. The Watchers followed some, then others. Their formations broke apart. The crew saw the Watchers hesitate for the first time. Then Mira made her move. She ordered the ship to change course quickly, moving behind a large asteroid that blocked sensors. At the same time, the light mirrors created a blinding flash of light. The Watchers flinched. For the first time, the silver ray was hidden. Inside the ship, cheers filled the control room. The tension broke for a moment, but Mira stayed calm. We did not win, she said. They learned from us. Next time, they will be smarter. Instructor Cal nodded. But for now, we showed them humans are not easy to surprise. Mira looked out the window at the faint stars. She knew the Watchers were still out there, patient, curious, waiting for their next move, and she was ready to meet it. The silver ray floated silently in the quiet dark beyond the dusk void. The Watchers still lingered at the edges of sensor range. They were cautious but curious. They had not attacked, not yet, but their presence was a heavy weight on the crew's minds. Inside the command deck, Mira stood calm, watching the data streams. Her mind moved faster than the blinking lights on the screens. She had spent days studying the Watchers' patterns, how they moved, how they reacted, how they thought. She was ready. Instructor Cal approached her quietly. We've done everything we can with shields and decoys, he said. What's next? Mira looked up. It's time for a new kind of move, she said. One they will not expect. The captain joined them, explained. Cadet, he said. Mira took a deep breath. The Watchers think in patterns, she said. They watch, wait, and strike when they see weakness. But what if we stop being predictable? She tapped on the screen and opened a new program. This is a field of magnetic pulses. She explained. It can disrupt their sensors and engines. It does not hurt them physically. It just freezes their systems for a short time. Cal frowned. Is that safe for our ship? Yes, Mira said. The pulses are tuned not to affect us, just to confuse them. The captain nodded slowly. Then, let's try. The crew prepared the ship. Let's dim the system switch to new modes. Drones moved to launch bays. The magnetic field generator hummed softly. Outside, the Watchers drifted closer. Sensing something was changing, Mira waited for the right moment. When the Watchers formed a tight group near the ship, she gave the order, activate the pulse field. Wave of magnetic energy spread quietly into space. It was invisible, but its effect was clear. The Watchers' ship slowed. Their lights flickered. Sensors died one by one. Their engines stopped moving. They drifted like stones in space. Inside the ship, alarms stayed silent. Systems were normal. The crew held their breath. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then the Watchers began to slowly restart their systems. Lights blinked back on, engines hummed. But their usual smooth grace was gone. They moved awkwardly, like creatures waking from sleep. Mira smiled quietly. They stopped breathing. She said softly, "Instructor." Cal laughed, breaking the tension. "We never thought they could be stopped without a fight." The captain spoke through the comm. "This is Captain Rel. To whoever watches us, we see you. We understand your ways. We do not wish to fight, but we will defend ourselves." Mira stepped forward and pressed a button. She opened a communication channel to the Watchers. Her voice was calm and steady. "We know you test us. We are ready to learn from you, but also to teach." The Watchers did not respond with words. They responded with silence for hours. The silver ray remained in space with the Watchers frozen by the pulse field. Then, slowly, the Watchers moved away, not in retreat, not in defeat, but in respect. Instructor Juno said quietly, "They are learning from us, too." Mira nodded. "They will come back, but next time, they will think twice." The crew gathered in the command room after the Watchers left. Cadets whispered about what had happened. Some cheered. Some still felt unsure. Mira sat quietly, thinking. Her journey had only just begun. The Watchers were not enemies in the usual sense. They were something new, something different. But one thing was clear. Humanity was no longer alone. And humanity was no longer weak. The silver ray sailed back toward the familiar stars of Earth's space. The tension on board had lifted, but the memory of the Watchers remained strong in everyone's minds. They were silent and mysterious, neither friend nor enemy. They had tested humanity's courage and mind. Cadet Mira walked through the corridors. With calm steps, the other cadets looked at her differently now. No more whispers or doubts. Some nodded quietly in respect. Even Bren and Lynn stopped their jokes when she passed. Mira did not change. She was still quiet and focused. But inside, she felt something new, a small spark of hope. Instructor Cal met her near the observation deck. He smiled. "You led us through the unknown," he said, "and showed that strength is more than weapons. And power." Mira nodded. "I only did what I had to do," she said. Daka looked out at the stars. "The Watchers are out there, still watching. But now they know Earth is not weak. We have minds that can match theirs." Mira looked at the distant stars and thought about what was next. Her planet, her home, had warned her about dangers long before anyone else listened. Now the whole fleet would listen. The silver ray reached Earth Command. The ship's arrival was met with great interest. Reports were sent immediately. Officers asked questions. Scientists prepared to study the data. Mira was called to speak to the fleet leaders. She stood before them, calm and clear. "I don't know what the Watchers are," she said, "but they are patient and intelligent. They want to learn about us, and they want us to learn about them." A senior officer nodded. "We will prepare. We will watch. And when the Watchers return, we will be ready." Back on the ship, the cadets returned to their training. But something had changed. The future seemed wider, brighter, more full of possibilities. Mira spent more time with her fellow cadets. She shared small smiles. She answered questions quietly. She even laughed once when Bren told a funny story the youngest cadet had become a leader. One evening, Mira stood again at the observation deck. She looked at the stars beyond. The Watchers might return. They might bring new challenges. But she was ready. For the first time, she did not feel alone. The galaxy was vast. It was full of mysteries. But humans had something special. They had heart. They had courage. They had minds that refused to stop. And Mira knew this was only the beginning. The stars shone brightly outside. A new dawn had arrived.